been getting some inquiries about this masonry heater slash fireplace with a rocket stove aspects to it and a bunch of thermal mass. They're wanting to know how well it worked and did I make a set of plans and would I change anything now that I've been using it for a while. So in this video I'm going to go over some of that stuff. This is the 5th winter now that we're using this fireplace heater. I call it a fireplace. This is the 5th winter now that we've been using it. I think we probably get about 90% of our heat from this unit. The rest is picked up by a gas boiler. We got hot water radiant heat under the floor here with a thermostat down the hall that I've been setting at about 68 degrees. So if it drops below that temperature, it'll kick the boiler on. The house is about 55 feet long. In order to get heat from this down the hallway, I do have a ceiling fan to help push it along down there. The fire's out now, but the interior is still about 200 degrees. The fire brick on the inside, thermal mass I'm using. And the last fire we had was last night. It was probably out by 9:30, but I probably burned it maybe 4 hours yesterday. It's about 20 degrees out now, and this is the next afternoon. I'm about ready to start it again. So it works pretty good that way. If it's colder, I probably would have had to start a fire in the morning too to pick up more heat. Otherwise, the boiler would kick on. So that's how that's been working, and it works pretty good, I think. No, I didn't make a set of plans for this, but on some of the other videos I had about this, you can get a good idea about how I made it. It's just basically it was a 4 foot by 8 foot foundation, and this is all built on top of it. But I'll take a couple other measurements here, like the firebox and some other things, so people get a better idea about what's going on in here. The firebox, the measurements of the firebox is about, let's see, I still feel the heat coming out of there. Yeah, it's about 21 inches, the depth of this firebox, and that's with this 1-inch fire brick in there too. It's a little deeper if I go past it, but it's about 21 inches deep, and this is about 13 inches wide, and we got about 11 inches high. But this is the firewood I stick in there. This is what I've been using, and this is 15, 16 inches long. So it's just pretty standard. So the firebox, I kind of like that size, and that worked pretty good. And I got the fresh air coming up from the outside. It goes across the crawl space, and it comes across the hearth and up through this square tubing and shoots down. That was still hot. And shoots down over the door. There's an air washer over the door, and that works good too. I wouldn't change that. A couple things that I would have changed on here is maybe the length of the riser. I'll pick the camera up so you get a little better idea what I'm talking about. The riser comes up to the bottom of this oven. And I'm not sure that I would have needed it that tall. If I stand back and get a look, I think I could have dropped that down probably another 10 inches and still gotten by all right. But I was going by some rocket mass heater measurements when I built this. But I think I could have dropped this down another 8 inches and it'd been easier to access that oven. On those rocket mass heaters, they're usually trying to push exhaust through maybe 20 feet of a horizontal exhaust pipe. But I'm not doing that here. I'm just pushing it, down underneath the burn chamber and back up around. I think I could have gotten by with a shorter riser, and it would have lowered that oven down, and that would have been easier to access that. Another thing that I may have done differently is that I might have left an airspace between this brick wall and the fireplace. There's a bathroom on the other side of this wall right here. I did leave a little space, an insulated space, so all the heat wouldn't transfer over to this brick wall. But if I would have left maybe a 2-inch airspace, I probably could have gotten air circulating from the lower corner on the right over here up through the top, on the upper top here. I could have got air from the floor to circulate right up through the back of this unit. I think that might have been better than the way I have it right now. I can show you over here what I'm talking about. This is the bathroom on the other side. This does get pretty warm over here. It doesn't need to be as warm in here as it is, but there's an insulated space between the bricks and the fireplace. But I probably could have had more of a space there. I don't need as much heat coming through this wall. And over here, this part of the brick wall over here is just a closet. I do have a 2-inch space between the brick and the fireplace unit, the interior fire brick. I do have a 2-inch space, and I probably could have left that all open through the back. One other thing that I could have done was run some boiler tubing through the smoke channels to pick up some heating for hot water. I guess I could probably still do that. I'll open this up and I'll show you what's inside. I think I might be able to run some stainless steel tubing down and around underneath here as a heat exchanger. This is what it looks like now. I cleaned it out in October, and this is what it looks like now. So we're not getting much of a buildup in there, just that fine fluffy soot that I seem to get from these hot burns. I'd have to do some drilling through the concrete to get some tubing in there, but I think it might be possible. And on the side over here, I still think I might be able to get a little blower in here that'll blow behind that smoke channel and up around front here. That's what these square tubings are for, that go back to that opening behind these smoke channels. I thought it would circulate through there just by thermosiphon. You get some heat out of there, but if I put a fan back over in that lower corner, I would get a lot more heat blowing out here. So that's an option I still think I'd be able to do. I'd have to get that tubing to the front here. This is the, see it there? This is the front of the smoke channels where it comes down along the riser. That's the riser right there. And the smoke travels down. Try to get my flashlight out of the way. Stick it in there. Stick the phone in there. Then it goes underneath the firebox, those smoke channels. And if I could get a stainless steel tubing all the way up to the front here and make that turn and go back, I could make a heat exchanger for water. You get some hot water heating out of these smoke chambers. That's the riser there. It's good to keep checking these areas, smoke channels once in a while to see if there's any buildup, but pretty clean so far. Probably check it another month or two to see if I have to vacuum something out, but so far they're pretty decent. I just started a fire now for this evening's burn. It's about 4:30, so this will probably burn for about 5 hours to have our heat for the next 24 hours probably. And when I start it, I usually just leave the door open a little bit. That's usually what you do when you start a wood stove. But it's starting to go pretty good now. You can see the door moving a little bit just from the draw. But this is the primary air that comes through the hearth and down over the door. So I can shut this door now. And it's going pretty good. One thing I will probably change are these handles here. These are just some springs that I have. They're kind of flimsy. And one thing that I mentioned in another video is this secondary air supply that goes over to the riser. I don't really need this at all. I found out I'm getting plenty of air just through the primary, so the secondary I usually just leave off all the time. Otherwise it kind of actually slows the fire down a little bit. And I did put some handles on these dampers, otherwise there's just a metal rod sticking out. This is for the bypass damper. If the fireplace is cold, if everything is completely cold, I'll open this up when I start a fire, and it'll just circulate right out the chimney this way. It won't go underneath and through the smoke channels. It'll just bypass everything. So I call this the bypass damper, and this is the main damper up here. And one thing that I found out was really handy, and I'm glad I did it, is I put an excess panel to this chamber above the burn chamber where it goes out the chimney, because I can take these two screws out and I get access to these dampers, so if I had to replace them or something, I can get at them through this panel. So that's what I got going on here, and if you have any other questions you can just leave them in the comments. But I thought I wanted to explain this a little bit, and this has really been working good for us. So thanks for watching. Yeah, we do get those high temperatures going right away again too. That's what's so nice about this. Wow.